Greetings. This is Charlie Wharton, and welcome to our Creating Contentment podcast. Our goal with this effort is to try to get a head start on making the most of our opportunities, and we hope to help you get your week started off on the right foot. We hope we'll lay some groundwork for developing the contentment that can lead to an abundant life. So here's the question for this week. What are you doing next Sunday? If you look at your calendar, you'll see that next Sunday is Easter. For many religious traditions, Easter celebrates the day Jesus was raised from the dead, and because of that, for a lot of people, an important part of Easter Sunday is attending the church of their choice. Not only is Easter Sunday church attendance a religious activity, it's also kind of a social ritual. I hope everyone has a place to attend worship next Sunday, but I'd like to ask you a question about the next Sunday. Will as many of us be at church on the Sunday after Easter as will be at church on Easter? Now, don't misunderstand me. I hope that there will be a house full on April 20th, but I hope that it will be followed up by crowds on the 27th. Now, here's kind of the dilemma. Throughout my lifetime, churches have had an uneasy relationship with church attendance. Most of us who grew up as regular church goers cut our teeth on the New Testament admonition found in Hebrews chapter 10, verses 23 through 25 that says, "Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful, and let us consider how to stimulate one another to love and good deeds, not forsaking our own assembling together as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near." Now, if you grew up in a family like ours, church attendance was not optional. We were there every time the doors were open. Yet something happened somewhere down the road. A debate started to develop about the necessity of church attendance. Do we have to go to church to prove our Christian commitment? Doesn't that rigidity tip the scales on the side of works rather than faith? Through the years, a lot of people began to reason that while they might believe in a sovereign God, they weren't sure that he needed his ego stroked by taking attendance. So the question became, is church attendance a true demonstration of faith, or can we be just as effective in living our faith outside the church building? Now, while I have some pretty deeply held beliefs about the necessity of church attendance, what I want to do in this podcast is to discuss a few advantages of regular church attendance. Rather than listing several rationales for my reasoning, I just want to throw out some advantages of being a regular part of a church gathering. So what's the intrinsic value in going to church? Well, I think the first thing is that church attendance allows us to be around good people who focus on good things. No, not everyone who decides to go to church has exemplary behavior, but most of them do. None of us is perfect, but those who choose to gather with other good people to worship a great God are demonstrating a desire to embrace righteousness. If you're looking to find a group that can bring the best out in us, one of the best places to look is inside a church worship assembly. Secondly, church attendance allows us to break from many of the things that can rob us of our peace. We live in a time and a place filled with the hustle and bustle of modern social pressures. There is a lot of questionable morality that's trying to entrap us. Even in the things that are moral neutral, such as our jobs or social media or even our emails, they can produce a certain amount of pressure on us. When we come into the peace and quiet of a worship assembly, we can feel a sense of calmness in our souls. By the way, if you're more anxious when you leave church than when you arrive, there's something amiss. By finding a place of worship that exudes peace and a mindset that embraces calmness, we get a break from the stressors that suck the life out of us. The third thing is that church attendance can help us learn more about God's message for mankind. In some assemblies, a preacher might expose us to a new passage of Scripture. In other assemblies, a song might captivate our heart and help us to understand the saving nature of Christ. In some assemblies, a prayer might help us come to terms with a struggle that we've never been able to express and lead us on a road to recovery. Sure, we can learn about God all alone in our own quiet place, but by being around others who are seeking a deeper knowledge of and a deeper relationship with God's will, we might advance in our own spiritual growth. Next, church attendance can help us deal with the loneliness and isolation we feel in the modern world. One of the more often mentioned struggles of the people in the 21st century is that they feel all alone. Many of them work remotely. Many of them socialize online, and about the only interaction they have with real live people are those surface or accidental contacts that they have as they go through their day-to-day lives. I believe that being a part of a church can help us to feel like a part of a group of people who are invested in a greater cause, not only in our worship service, but also in the service and the fellowship activities related to being a part of a church family. Fifth thing that we can talk about is that church attendance can help us demonstrate a conviction we have in our heart. Our spiritual lives are a deeply held conviction inside us. They make up a good part of who we are and what we believe. But I also believe that this spiritual component that lives inside us is just itching to find ways to express itself. Christianity doesn't just want to be a thought. It has a desire to grow hands and feet. While there are a lot of ways to demonstrate our faith, one of the most enjoyable is to share a part of our day with like-minded believers. Going to church isn't hard, and if we're not careful, we just might find ourselves enjoying ourselves. The final thing is that church attendance makes a statement to the world about what's important to us. Do your neighbors know what kind of car you drive? If so, where do they see it parked during the worship assemblies? Not everyone feels comfortable with evangelizing publicly, but it doesn't take too much training to park your car in the parking lot and walk into a church building. At least when we do that, people will know whose team we're on. There will be several churches that would love to welcome you into their worship, not just next Sunday, but every Sunday after that. If you're looking for a way to kickstart your spiritual journey, they'd love to help. And if you're hoping to maintain your spiritual inertia, well, they'd like to help with that too. And hopefully, somewhere along the way, our paths will cross. We wish the best for you as you navigate your week, and we hope that you will join us next week for another chance to discuss ways that we can create contentment.